first point that David shows us in facing our fear with communion with God? Well, the first thing David shows us is, if you're going to relevantly face your fear in communion with God, look at the fourth verse. He says one thing, not many, not a whole lot, but just one thing I asked of the Lord. This is what I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze upon the beauty of the Lord and to seek him in his temple. Communion with God will create the right desire. Communion with God will create the right desire. Listen to what he says. One thing. Listen to the power of just two words. One thing. David here is suggesting to us that we need to be men and women of one thing. Beloved, does that mean that we don't have other things on our mind? Does that mean we don't have other things that we have to do? No, it doesn't mean that. It means that all of the things we have on our mind ought to be wrapped up and controlled by one thing. It means that all of the places and all of the things that we're involved in ought to be wrapped up in one thing. And the problem with you, the problem with me, whenever we're facing fear, is that we've allowed too many things to distract one thing in our life. And what he is telling us in verse number 4 is that the one thing he wants and asked of God, he wants to dwell in God's house. That's all he's asking for. Solomon, you'll recall, asked God for one thing. What was it, y'all? Wisdom. Moses, when he was on the mountain speaking to God through a tree that was burning but was not consumed, when he was on the mountain, he asked God one thing. God told him to go to Pharaoh and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. Moses asked God one thing. Who should I say sent me? God replies, tell him that I am, that I am. We must be people of one thing. And when you're distracted from dwelling with God, when you're distracted from communing with God, then you are distracted from the one thing that God desires of you. Notice what he tells us though in verse 4. He says, basically, all I want to do, Lord, is ask you if I can dwell in your house all the days of my life. That's all I want to do. I want to do it every day. I want it today. I want it tomorrow if you let me live. If I get to live to see another day, I want to do it then. David is saying to God, I want to be in your presence perpetually and permanently. But he gets specific, and that's where sometimes we miss it, you all, in our prayers and our expectations of God. We don't get specific. You know, where, for example, you say, Lord, bless me with a man. You might, you might want to get a little bit more specific, you know. I was talking to a saint, and saint was talking about getting married, and saint said, you know, Pastor said, I'm just asking God to bless me with a man. I said, you are? I said, but you talking about getting married? Saint said to me, he said, I know, I'm asking God to bless me with a man. I said, no, what you want is a husband. See, that's the difference there. There's a difference there. And they say, well, you know what? You're right. I said, what kind of husband you looking for? I said, you know, I hadn't thought about that. See, if you don't know what kind of husband or what kind of wife or what kind of woman or what kind of man you looking for, you just about gonna get what you're looking for. Nothing. So that saint started saying to me, you know, Pastor, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to pray. I like short men. Say, I want me a short husband. When you get to start praying specifically, God will answer specifically. Are you hearing me? Look at the specifics of what he is asking for. The generality of what he's asking for is to be in the house of the Lord all the days of his life. But look at what he specifically wants to do in the Lord's house. He says, I want to gaze upon the beauty of the Lord. So, Lord, I want to be in your house for the right reason. I want to gaze upon your beauty. I want to be able to see your joy. I want to be able to see your peace. I want to be able to see that you are a wonderful counselor. I want to be able to see that you're a mighty God. I want to be able to see that you're an everlasting Father. I want to be able to see that you're Jehovah Jireh. I want to be able to see that, God, you indeed are my provider. I want to be able to look at you, Father, and the beauty of you and see that when friends are gone, what a friend I have in Jesus. He says, I want to look at your beauty. I want to look at your beauty. And I tell you, taste and see. If you ever gaze upon him, taste and see. How many of y'all like chess pie? All right? All right. Pecan? Now, y'all know everybody don't know how to make chess pie. And y'all know everybody don't know how to make pecan pie. It might look good. The nuts on the pecan might look good. But if you ain't been around Big Mama and got Big Mama's recipe, it's about to be dangerous on the spoon. And it's about to be cantankerous in the mouth. But when you can taste Jesus. I looked around at Brother Gooch a while ago at the beginning of the service. I said, man, you feel that sweet spirit in here? It's just a sweet, just a sweet spirit in here. It was a sweet spirit in here. I said, you feel that? He said, yeah, I feel that. Taste and see